So Hayley, I know there are supplements that work as probiotics. Then I've also heard there's also prebiotics on food. So what would be the difference between probiotic and prebiotic?
Okay, so probiotic is basically you have dogs and cats have microbiomes where they're like little mini ecosystems. So inside their gut, they have good and bad bacteria, and you really want the balance of good and bad bacteria. You want more beneficial bacteria in the gut than you want of the bad. Mm-hmm. So when you have these tummy upsets, prebiotics, probiotics help to improve the balance and improve gut health. The difference between the two is a probiotic is something that usually comes in a supplement or a powdered source, or for ourselves, you'll find it in yogurts, and there'll be specific species of good bacteria in there that you're introducing into the gut, and you're improving that balance of good bacteria. However, those bacteria being introduced into the gut don't have the ability to colonize and make a home and stay there, and they just pass out with the stool. So for a probiotic to be effective, it's got to be given every single day, long term. And how many people end up doing that? Whereas prebiotics, which are sort of newer to the game of pet foods, it's really a combination of fibers that is in the food. So when the animal's fed, the bacteria, the good bacteria, feed on these fibers. So fiber cannot be digested, it passes through the gut, but these bacteria will be able to digest and feed on that fiber source. So you get fermentation happening in the gut, and there's a release of a whole lot of good compounds. And two that are really important for gut health is higher levels of antioxidants as well as anti-inflammatory properties. So now your gut wall, or the inner lining of that gut wall, becomes healthier, it becomes thicker, and absorption through that gut wall is a lot better than when you have an unhealthy gut.
Okay.
Science. Science.
There's a lot to it.
Right? And you think you're just picking up a bag of food.
No.
But there's just so much more.
There's a lot of research that's gone into a lot of diets out there. And it's really important. I mean, for me, the microbiome is something that is going to be more and more looked into for the future. Like, what is the they call it the gut-brain axis, so the link between the gut and the brain. So down the line, I think there's a lot of more exciting products that are going to be released.
And I know you said earlier about senior cats. Obviously, cats and dogs do age a bit differently. What is a diet that you would suggest for cats that are much older? I know there is senior diets for cats as well, but is there a specific one where cats are prone to certain diseases, and if you put them on that certain diet, it just helps eliminate those?
So there's two diets that I really think touching on what is best for cats and on seniors is cats that are 12 years and older. We know 90% of them have arthritis, but they don't display it like dogs do. And where people might pick up that there's a problem is maybe the cat's not able to get in and out of the window, or jump up onto the bed, or up onto the table where they were feeding. So quite often it's overlooked by pet parents. They don't know their cat is suffering from arthritis. And as they get older, the likelihood of them developing chronic kidney disease is high if they're not fed correctly. So it's really important for me, I think, once you have senior pets, that you start taking them to regular, and if you can afford, is a senior profile where they take bloods, they can see how your cat and your dog's doing, and then they can recommend a diet from there. Another one that I find with cats is cats are solitary animals, hunters, and they really don't like having other cats about unless they have to tolerate. They'll tolerate each other, but they don't really love each other unless they're from the same litter. So you find cats do have anxiety and stress that people also aren't aware of. So in a household where you've got multiple cats, you might have one cat that tends to hide in the bedroom, always on top of a cupboard or underneath a couch, and never quite wants to interact in a social environment, and then you'll have that cat that it's like Garfield, it's that bully, and what's happening is one cat is probably protecting the food area, it's that whole hunter kind of thing, and the other cat is staying away. What happens is when you have stressed cats, quite often they will develop urinary diseases, and this can be sort of, I wouldn't say prevented, but you can reduce the risk by feeding a diet that has a supplement that helps with stress. So L-tryptophan is a ingredient, and milk protein hydrolysate. Those two ingredients have been proven to reduce the stress of cats. And normally you would say they've got to reach therapeutic levels, but within 3 weeks of people feeding a diet with those ingredients, there's a marked change in the dynamics in that household. And it does improve that cat's well-being as well.
So while we're speaking about feeding, I know growing up, we would just give pets whatever we ate as well. So is there something specific, maybe like specific ingredients or specific fruits, vegetables, or meats that pet parents need to be cautious about when they're giving or when they're feeding their pets?
So yes, absolutely. I mean, dogs and cats do need different nutrients than us for growth, development, healthy maintenance. But there are foods of ours that we are eating and they come along and they start meowing or they're begging and we all cave. So chocolate is a big no-no. It's really toxic. Grapes, raisins, and then there are foods that aren't toxic, but they really, if given in excess, are going to lead to weight gain, obesity, which that in itself can now lead to chronic diseases, heart disease, kidney disease, various other problems down the line. So you might not see it now, but when they become seniors, now you're having to go into the vet regularly because they've now ended up with a chronic disease.
So my take home is that if you're giving pellets and also cooking for your baby, sometimes you would be adding on vet bowls because you're adding extra of whatever is already in that bag, right?
And that's it. And table scraps. People love to, whatever's left over from their meal, add it to their dog's bowl. And our food really is high in salt, which is not good, and high fat. When we're all around a braai, who doesn't like to, if you're having a piece of boerewors, give the dog a little because, geez, they are really wanting some. But that is high in fat, and giving your dog diets with high fat can lead to a condition called pancreatitis, which that is really a severe illness, and if not treated and fed a low diet for the rest of their life, will kill them. So you really want to make sure when you're feeding, anything that's passing your dog or your cat's lips is something that's nutritious, that's healthy, that is not going to be harming them down the line. And it comes down to everything in moderation, hey? Yeah. So the biggest thing I find in my job and the people I come across is overfeeding. So sometimes people are doing the right thing, they're feeding the correct diet, but they're just feeding too much because that animal has become a master beggar, and overfeeding leads to obesity. And once they're obese, I mean, if you think about it, so now all those fat cells are stretched to max, that animal will be in a constant state of inflammation. And when you have high inflammation, you're going to have a high level of free radicals building up, and free radicals are not good for health and well-being. So you really want to make sure you keep your pets lean.
And also it's more like adding on vet bowls, and also you would have to get like a maintenance diet now, weight control and all that. And for pet parents, well, we're still speaking about feeding. So for pet parents who do give leftovers or who overfeed, because someone would be moving from another diet with different nutritional levels, moving to a premium recipe, and they would still be feeding the same amount. That's overfeeding, right?
That's correct, absolutely.
So how do they notice if their pet is overweight?
It's all about the physical appearance. So there's a couple of things that they can do for both dogs and cats. cat. So I always talk about ribs, is how can you feel the ribs. So if you always do the knuckle test, if you can feel your knuckles like that, your dog or your cat is too skinny. If you're feeling the bottom side here of your hand, that's when they're overweight. So you can still feel a little bit of bone, but there's a lot of meat there. So you really want to be able to feel those ribs when you're rubbing your finger across it. The other one is, what do they look like from the top? So do they have a square table sort of shape? Do they have a waistline? Because that's what you really want, is a little bit of a waistline. And then when you're looking from the side, I call it the tummy tuck or the tummy apron or the pouch, is do they have where it's either a straight line or their tummy is tucked up, or is that belly starting to hang? And then lastly, for those that are really overweight, is if pet parents have a look at the tail, where the tail is joining the body, is there's often a lot of fat rolls around that. Then you know that they really are very overweight. But those are the sort of things to look at, and if you're unsure, a lot of the practices, you can take your pets in. They do free weight checks where you can weigh your pet and get advice.
So for pet parents who is already in this situation and they have a pet that's overweight and they're looking to get like a weight control diet, how do they go about feeding their babies?
So it's important to feed for the target weight. So what is the weight that pet should be, and not what is the weight that it is now. So if it's weighing 25 kgs and it's a Labrador and it should be weighing 20, you feed it as a 20 kg dog. And so that's really key, is feeding for the right weight. But remember, is all dogs and cats have different metabolism. So some, just like us, they might require less, so maybe 10% less than what is recommended on the bag, or maybe they require 10% more. So I do think that, you know, every dog or cat should be seen as an individual and be fed as an individual.
So Hayley, you've been in the industry for ever. A very long time. For somebody who wants to come into the industry, what are 3 words that would best describe your experience working in the industry?
Just the passion and the love I have for animals. This is the best job I could possibly have. I find it so rewarding, especially being able to help people with their pets, advise them on what's best from a nutritional point of view when they've got behavioral issues. I just love that part of my job. I also find it really interesting because there's no 2 days that are the same. Every single day is going to be a different day. So whether it's from meeting different breeds of dogs or cats, getting to have chats with different vets, it's something different every day. And then lastly is the pet food industry is evolving, or the pet industry is evolving. There's just always so much coming along, new things happening. For me, it's really interesting, the science behind a lot of the foods that are coming out. And you know, it comes down to people now, they humanize their pets. You know, years back in my dad's day, you know, the dogs weren't allowed inside. I had to sneak them in. Now the dogs are on the bed, they're on the pillow next to you. So things are evolving in that people are wanting, they're expecting really high levels from companies for their pets. And those companies are actually standing up and saying, you know what? We can do that. So I really, for me, if anybody wants to get into the pet industry, it really is rewarding.
Yeah, it's huge, eh?
Yeah. And there's so much to do within the industry as well.
There is.
I always say to pet parents, it's more like a roller coaster. I remember this one day we were doing a euthanasia, then we had a puppy coming in. It's like mixed emotions.
That's it.
Up and down.
You know,
It's up and down.
something maybe happens that you feel really sad about, but then the next day you're on a high because you've heard of some miracle happen where a dog or cat that might have been, people were considering doing the same thing, and they've now been given various, whether it be meds, food, and they're giving that pet a second chance.
And also you were speaking about pet parents humanizing their pets now, and obviously we wake up every day, brush our teeth. So for pet parents who are not winning about brushing their pets' teeth, do you guys have like a dental range that they can get for their fur babies?
So Hills does have a diet where we've got TD, which is our prescription diet, or our science plan range, which is oral care. And they really are kibbles that are designed to help clean, brush the teeth. But it comes down to if you brushed your teeth for 20 seconds or you brushed your teeth for a minute, there's going to be a difference. So you really want to make sure that these kibbles are not given just as a treat once off here and there. They should be 30% of their daily food should come from these kibbles. And how they're actually designed is the fibers run perpendicular to one another. So when that dog or cat bites into that kibble, it doesn't break open. So it actually scrapes that tooth and helps to clean that plaque that is building up on that tooth. So really, really great. But as I said, it needs to be fed on a daily basis.
And on the topic of humanizing pets, I know we're all very cautious with our health now, but should pets be vegan, in your opinion? As a person who's been in the industry for a very long time.
I think she's already explained cats for sure. No.
Yeah. Cats for me is an absolute no. They do need animal tissues in their diet to get those nutrients that I've mentioned. You know, dogs as omnivores by nature, they will survive. And there are diets, unfortunately not here in South Africa, but diets have been made that are complete and balanced, that are for vegetarians. Okay. It's not something that I would recommend to anybody. But you know, people have certain beliefs and lifestyles, and if they have to do it, then so be it.
Yeah.
But I do think they need to seek veterinary assistance on that, just to make sure, and those animals should be checked on a regular basis. So instead of their yearly health check, I would be saying, you know, at least do every 6 months.
Okay.
And I know this might be off topic, but when I started in the pet industry, I remember when we were being trained, we were told about cats cannot produce taurine. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yes.
What is taurine?
So that is the nutrient that I'd mentioned with the cats, where as obligate carnivores, taurine is an amino acid which is found in protein, but in animal protein. So if you're not feeding an animal protein, there's not enough taurine. So when diets are being supplemented with taurine, you know that protein source is not great for that cat. So yeah, taurine is an amino acid which is found in the protein that's been used.
Okay, so they basically do need it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we've been speaking about feeding, but we haven't spoken about how often should pets be fed.
Okay, and that to me, I keep saying that's another important one.
And also we have seniors, puppies, adults. Could be they are fed differently.
So when I was growing up, we fed our dogs once a day. That was it. They got their meal at dinner time, and there was maybe a few treats during the day, but there were no meals, and that is not the way that we should be feeding dogs and cats. So for cats, they basically are scavenger hunters. So if you're able to free feed cats, but just watch that they don't get overweight. If you've got multiple cats, then clearly you can't, but free feeding, they help themselves and they want to graze throughout the day. With dogs, if you put a bag of food there, I know my one dog would absolutely plow through the entire bag and eat herself sick. But puppies and kittens, you would start feeding from when they wean. So for kittens, that's 4 weeks of age, they would go on to solids, and puppies is 6 weeks of age. And between then and 3 months, they should be fed at least 4 times a day. So whatever the amount is on the food, on the bag, say it was 100 grams, they would need 25 grams 4 times a day. Once they reach 3 months of age, you would then feed them 3 times a day till 6 months, and then from 6 months on to when they're seniors, they should be eating 2 meals a day. So they get half in the morning and half in the evening. And the reason for that is, particularly once they're adults 6 months on, is their their gastrointestinal tract is a lot shorter than ours. So the time span that it has moving through the gut from when it goes in the shop, the front end, to out the other end, is 24 hours you're looking at. So you want, one, a highly digestible food, but you also don't want to feed one big bulk amount because they're not going to be able to digest all of that. So splitting the meals helps with absorption, digestibility, or taking in the food that's there. But also from a point of view of dogs and cats that do have tummy issues, or maybe they have sensitivities where they will regurgitate a food after they've eaten it. By breaking those meals into smaller meals, feeding more frequently can resolve that, can help with that. And then lastly, with large breed dogs, particularly puppies, you've got to be very, very careful is once they've eaten, if they've eaten a big meal and they drink water and now they're running around the garden, the likelihood of a stomach torsion is high. So you want to reduce any kind of risks like that which potentially are harmful to the animal. The other thing as well is if you feed your dog at night one big meal, after they've eaten, they're just going to sleep and lie around, so they're not going to be alert. So you ideally you need to split those meals.
So that will also increase weight gain, right? If they've been fed at night and they're just sleeping.
No, not necessarily. It will be weight gain will be mainly that they are being overfed because they could still be getting the right quantity, but they're just not utilizing it effectively.
Okay.
Hayley, thank you so much for such an educational episode. I'm pretty sure we have learned so much, and in terms of what food to feed, how to feed, and things like that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you to the two of you. I really appreciate being here, being able to share what I know to help people do the right thing from a nutritional point of view. It just makes me feel like
Happy.
I've had a good day.
Yes.
Changing the world.
Yeah.
One pet at a time.
Yes. One paw at a time.
Exactly. We did say when we started, like on our first episode, that we're trying to indoctrinate everybody to become pet people. So the more you know people, the more you love the pets, the more you know how well they're taken care of.
And you never know enough, hey? We learn every day. I mean, how much like we've learned since we started, and it's not even 6 months.
No.
It's less than 6 months, and literally.
Well done to you two for starting this, because I really think education is key. You know, people want to do the very best, but if they don't know how,
True.
It's impossible.
they're not able to.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. As mentioned, Hayley is been in the industry for a very long time, and she works for Hills. So you guys do definitely check them out on their platforms. Thank you so much. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, like, and share, and tell us what is your best advice that you received from Hayley today, and how are you going to be applying that to your pet's life moving forward.
And what is the question you have for her when she comes back?
Yeah, because she's definitely coming back. So until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.